Most of the time in life, your hard work really never gets rewarded. But every once in a while, the universe throws you a bone, man, and you feel like a proud papa. Want to know what I'm talking about? We're about to go into it. So let's get it cracking. Yo, 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 no maniacs, super no maniacs, and all in between. Welcome to another edition of Feed the Bears. Sorry, I haven't done the regular videos for Feed the Bears, but I get busy sometimes. And best thing I can do, we got a ton of content. We got a ton of content in form of shorts and different things like that we put out. Long podcasts that have to be edited at times so you can get the good content out of it. And you just get busy. So hopefully you guys are satisfied with the amount of content that's coming out because it's one of the things that we prided ourselves in over here is trying to make sure if we're going to up the ante and ask you guys for your subs and your support, make sure you guys get a lot of content. And I think we've been doing that very well over here. So this is another video. And again, I feel so good and I feel like a proud papa. And it's this for the sake of the network and the channel, I did really take it upon myself personally to be as the leader of this channel to be really hands on when it came to this offseason, when it came to the draft and when it came to these prospects, free agent market and all that. Tried to be very, very thorough and comprehensive about making sure that you guys at least get your eyes on some of these very, very good players out here that coming from being projected at different parts of this draft are going to come in here and really help the Bears out. And so what I came here to talk about today is this updated 30 Chicago Bears 30 visit. And I'm telling you, this right here is so gratifying. I know you guys can't really see what's on the screen right now. I'm about to blow it up in just a second. But what I want to say first is I work my behind off. When I say I work my brown bottom side off, I work my butt off all off season. And I got started very early, making sure that you guys can be able to identify some of these players. And so what you're looking at here, and let me open it up right now, this is the best. Hopefully you guys can see it, but this is the most updated list that I can find. And first of all, before I get into these players, let me send a super duper shout out to Aaron Lemming on Twitter. If you have a Twitter account and you want to keep up with what the Bears are doing as far as the 30 visits, the UDFA class, I found out through shout out also to Greg Gabriel, which I reached out to him personally and asked, I'm like, how do I find these UDFAs, these guys that are coming in as getting targeted as UDFAs? And he pointed Aaron Lemming out right away. And right when I went to his channel, to his page, I could see right away how thorough and comprehensive his work is. So shout out to him. If you want to know about these players coming in for 30 visits, these local pro days you see over here on the right-hand side, we even did a couple of those guys over there. He's got all that stuff covered on his page on Twitter. So let me get into it, man, because I feel so good about this. This is when your work pays off. I'm going to embellish a little bit, not because I want to project myself to be better than any other Bears podcaster out there. No, that's not the case. I want to be really, really clear. I just feel very satisfied and gratified with the amount of work that I put in, knowing that I put the right work in and identified the right football players, and it's paid results. The Bears are bringing them in for 30 visits. And usually 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a lot of these guys on this list that get drafted to Chicago. And so look, without further ado, every one of these, there's only one football player on this list right here. There's only one football player that didn't make it to a prospect show. And by the way, if you guys hadn't checked out all those prospect shows that we did on every Friday night, covering all these players, identifying who we should be looking at. And the thing is about that is there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of football players out there that you could be covering, but to find the right ones to highlight and to put it on the show when you got like 10, 15, 20 guys that you need to highlight every week, to sort through all those guys and find the right people to point out and get information to give it to you all so that you all can go take a look at them for yourselves. That was hella work. And this is why I get to, pat myself on the back a little bit because it paid off. And let's just start at the very top. Right here at the very top. This is a no-brainer. Ashton Genty, a running back. Everybody covered him, no problem there. That's pretty universal. But it gets more interesting the more you go down the list. Because I covered Josh Connolly, tackle out of Oregon, very early in the draft when nobody was talking too much about him. He wasn't a very popular name because there's only a couple of names that was on the mouths of most podcasters and analysts, and it was Will Campbell. People couldn't stop talking about Will Campbell. So I was making sure that people got a sense of who this football player was. Josh Connerly, we definitely covered him very, very early. Brashard Smith, running back out of SMU. Come on. I really embellished on this football player. And because, I was looking, somebody asked me at the end of the season, no, man, when we look at the draft and you start doing these players, we need to find somebody that, gives us that Jameer Gibbs type of, production. And right away, when I turned on this guy's tape, I saw Jameer Gibbs right away. I mean, right away, it was obvious to me that Brashard Smith could bring that kind of production to Chicago. So we did him. And by the way, make sure you guys tune into some extra sauce tonight because I'll cover these guys and go into detail about what I was saying about them when I was saying it about them. There's shorts out on pretty much every guy on this list. And so if you really want to see what I was saying, just go to the YouTube channel and check it out. You'll find a short on pretty much every guy here. Brashard Smith was one. Linebacker, Nick Martin. Definitely covered him fairly early in the process, and I did there's a couple of 2 or 3 shorts out on Nick Martin because I thought he was a dynamite linebacker out of Oklahoma State. We'll be in for a 30 visit. Receiver, Isaiah Bond out of Texas. Covered him early because we ended up starting a prospect show, and we did him out of pretty much the college playoffs, and Texas was in them, so we had to cover all those guys from Texas. Isaiah Bond was one of them. Go check that out. It's offensive lineman. This is the center, Dylan Fairchild out of Georgia. I can't remember if he's a center or a guard. I'm pretty sure he's a center/center guard. Whatever he is, covered him very early in the process. That's out there. Wide receiver Jalen Lane. He came a little bit later on in the process, probably within the last couple of months. Slot receiver out of Virginia Tech. Very dynamic. Brings a lot of production. Plus, he has a different dynamic because he's a special teamer guy. He's a returner. And so he's a very explosive football player. It seems like I just did it a week or two ago, but I know it was at least a month or two ago. We did Jalen Lane, receiver out of Virginia Tech. Dante Fleming is the guy on the list that I did not, let's just say he didn't make it to a show. He didn't make it to a show. I was still studying him. I identified him. I just didn't circle him and put him on the show. I'll get more into detail about him tonight when we do some extra sauce. So check that out tonight. And pretty much one of my favorite draft crushes of all. And that is offensive lineman, tackle Jonas Avenea out of Arizona. I think 110%, I'll fight somebody about this, but I got a strong indicator to me that this is probably the best overall offensive lineman in the draft. You want some of that Penei Sewell type of, what he brings to the table. I mean, I think he's the whole deal, man. It doesn't matter where he plays, whether it be tackle, guard. I know a lot of people looking at him as a guard because of his body type, but I watch him play tackle enough to where he proved to me that he can play tackle. He can play tackle on either side of the ball. It doesn't matter to me. I think he's that athletic and that dynamic of a football player. Think highly of that football player. And Anthony Belton, offensive tackle out of North Carolina State. Often, this comparison keeps coming up to me that, Armand Membo, every time I think about Armand Membo, I start thinking about Anthony Belton because I said this openly and I still feel this way. I think Anthony Belton is the better football player. I think he's the more consistent football player. I think the world of Armand Membo, but I think Anthony Belton has better tape. And, I put that out. This is all out on record. You can go look at the channel and you'll find all of that stuff out there. Offensive tackle, Anthony Belton out of North Carolina State. John Williams, offensive tackle out of Cincinnati. Did him fairly later on. I know I did him within the last month. I thought his tape was outstanding. Very outstanding. And so here's the last guy on the list. And another one of my, favorite guys in this draft, and he doesn't get the love nearly that he deserves, and that is defensive tackle Omar Norman Lott out of Tennessee. I think he's one of the more, let's just say, disruptive three techs in this draft. And if the Bears are gonna draft a 3-tech, there's some really good ones out there. The kid from Ole Miss, the kid from South Carolina, TJ Sanders, You got the Mason Grahams of the world out there. All those guys are thought of very, very highly. But I looked at Omar Norman's lot tape a lot, and I felt like I came away with the most disruptive three tech in this draft. And so I'll stand by that, and I think Mason Graham is awesome, but I'll stand by that, but that's the list. And by the way, before I get out of here, over here on the right-hand side, you can see there's a running back down here that I covered probably with the most recent show. Ontario Brown is coming in on a local pro day out of Northern Illinois. I think that kid is awesome. But the point is that the Nomad Network sought out this offseason to make sure that you all got a chance to identify. We did this for the people that, have to work long shifts, have kids running around, and just don't have time to be sitting around and doing the work that I was able to put in. And so for you all, I did that for you all over here for the Nomad Network. And I'm just super duper proud of it. Let me lessen the screen a little bit before I get out of here, because I am the leader of the network, but everybody plays a hand in what we do over here. So shout out to Trips and Kids, man, for their work too. So I just, again, feel so good about the fact that all of these players that we profiled and scouted over here are coming in here for 30 visits, and just makes you feel good about the work that you put in. So I'm just feeling like a proud pops, man. And I just wanted to get in here and get you guys an updated list on who's coming in here for 30 visits. We will talk about that tonight on the show. And hold on one second, because I got to get a promo in here before we get out of here. Got to do that. So we're going to get this promo in right quick before we get up out of here, so you guys can come to the show tonight. That's tonight at 8 p.m. Central, some extra sauce, where we're going to get more into detail about all these guys that are coming in here for 30 visits. Some of them have been here already. Some of them, their schedule hasn't been announced yet, so you see the TBA up there on the screen. So we're going to cover all of that tonight, plus much, much more. We're going to do a whole bunch of mock draft stuff tonight. I mocked every single pick up to 16. So I did the first half of the first round. So 16 picks, I mocked them personally myself. And you're going to be surprised at what I did. There's going to be some arguing going on tonight. There's going to be some disagreeing. But I think at the end of the day, once you see what I did, I think you'll find it kind of realistic and quite possible. So that's all tonight on some extra sauce. Make sure you tune in for that. And before we get out of here, I got to leave you guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button too, by the way. If you like this content and you appreciate what we've been doing over here and you want to see more of it come out, just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share the content with your friends, let people know who we are. If they like Bears and they like football, let them know it's a channel out here that covers it very, very well. So appreciate you guys for checking this video out. I'll see you guys tonight on some extra sauce. But before I get out of here, I got to leave you with these famous words. If you can think it and you can see it, there's no reason in the world why you cannot absolutely manifest it. Do not, and I repeat, do not be a prisoner of your own mind. But with that being said, I am out.